Capacitation. So what does capacitation exactly mean? The name itself indicates it is a sort of a process which enhances the capacity of the sperm in order to fertilize the egg. Why should the sperm's capacity be enhanced, and where does this process exactly happen? Now, this process of capacitation actually takes about, all of you remember, it takes about 5 to 6 hours to complete, and it happens within. So, where exactly is it happening? It happens within the female reproductive tract. That means it is not happening inside the male body. Once the sperm is released into the female reproductive tract, within the female reproductive tract, the process of capacitation is happening. During capacitation, you can see this illustration here. Now this is the sperm. You can see the tail of the sperm, the middle piece of the sperm, and the head of the sperm. And notice there are a lot of molecules that are covering the head of the sperm, that are covering the membrane of the head of the sperm. Now these molecules which cover the head of the membrane of the sperm, the membrane of the head, are either they may be cholesterol molecules, mostly they are cholesterol vesicles, or sometimes they may be certain proteins, okay, or sometimes they may be also certain carbohydrates. So if these molecules are covering the head, the membrane of the head of the sperm, then the sperm cannot fertilize the egg once it meets the egg. So what has to happen is, the moment the sperm is released, is ejaculated into the female reproductive tract, please notice here all these substances like the cholesterol molecules and the proteins and the carbohydrates which were covering the head, the surface of the head of the sperm, they are coming off, they are being shed off. So please remember, this shedding off of all these surface molecules which are attached to the head of the sperm is what is referred to as capacitation. And only when this shedding off takes place does the membrane of the head of the sperm become thinner. Obviously, if you shed off these excess molecules, the surface of the head, the plasma membrane of the head of the sperm becomes thinner, and therefore the head becomes receptive, and when the sperm comes in contact with the ovum, the process of fertilization can be initiated. Did you understand? So some of the molecules which are covering the head, like I mentioned, include cholesterol, proteins, and carbohydrates. And some of the important things you need to remember here is, you are making sure that the sperm has the capacity to fertilize the egg. And this process is called capacitation. Where does it happen? Within the female reproductive tract, after the sperm is ejaculated into the female reproductive tract. And how long approximately does it take? About 5 to 6 hours. If this process does not happen, the sperm cannot fertilize the egg. So it's very clearly illustrated here, like how all these yellow colored molecules are covering the head, and once it is ejaculated and once it enters into the female reproductive tract, as the sperm is swimming in the female reproductive tract, all these covering molecules which are covering or forming an envelope around the head are being shed off, and this process is called capacitation.